and Engineering Department of Kamaraj College of Engineering and Technology, Virudhunagar. I welcome you all for the 7th session on computational intelligence. As our world has become more complex, so have the capabilities of the microcontrollers embedded into our devices. Therefore, the world needs a trained workforce to develop and manage products based on embedded microcontrollers. Embedded systems are a ubiquitous component of our everyday lives. It comprises of intelligent computing devices that are surrounding us. We interact with hundreds of tiny computers every day that are embedded into our houses, our cars, our toys, and our work, etc. Today, the session has been organized to give an insight into the embedded system. I am extremely delighted to introduce the resource person of today's session, Engineer EMBUREY Samrex. He is an electronics and communication engineering graduate from St. Peter's Engineering College, Chennai. He has a PGDCA certification on embedded systems. For the past 9 years, he is working in EmbedUR Systems, Chennai. Started the career as a software engineer, he is now a technical lead in the same organization, spanning a thorough understanding and experience on embedded devices, firmware enhancement on medical devices, enterprise access point software development with a core enterprise on device driver, and firmware handling across major cutting-edge chipset manufacturers are some of his key specializations in the embedded domain. On behalf of our Computer Science Department of Kamaraj and College of Engineering and Technology, I welcome you, sir. Now I hand over the session to Engineer EMBUREY.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thanks a lot for the introduction. And
Thank you, sir.
You also gave a very good introduction about the embedded system itself. So that is what I'm going to cover in my first slide. So most of us here are very well known to this embedded system. Anyone who asks about its definition, they will simply call it as hardware and software. But that is true. It is hardware plus software. And then, as ma'am told, you are living across a lot of tiny computers, your smartphones, your TV, your computers, everything. Even nowadays, watches, the routers that you have in your homes. So all these things are all embedded systems. So the total devices are countless nowadays. So what is operating these embedded system? Is it just a hardware and software? What is the detail in it? Hardware and software need to interact. The interfacing should be there, and the operating system should be there. So today, what I'm going to mainly cover is, I'm not going to go into the details because most of us here are very well known in this particular domain, embedded system domain. So what I'm going to cover is, as a person from this industry, what we are expecting from academics perspective, because the scope here is extremely huge. Every day, at least one time we will think about, we will need an additional resource to do this work, to do that work, because the work that we get is so much, but the resources are small. This is a common known fact in the industry. You might have heard also. There is a gap between the number of quality engineers that are needed for the industry. That is because most of us do not know where to put the focus to enter into this huge domain which has a really great scope. So I'm going to focus on that part, what we in industry are expecting from academics perspective to build better embedded systems. So moving on to the next slide. So okay, embedded devices. So we are talking about, there are a lot of embedded devices, but who is actually using these devices? Where comes the business? So are you able to see my screen fully, or is it hiding? Is it better now?
Yes, it's clear only, sir.
Okay, okay.
Excuse me, can you increase your volume, sir?
Yeah, sure, ma'am. Okay. So,
Now it is okay, sir.
okay. Um,
Thank you.
so we were talking about the number of devices. So who is actually using these devices, and how to make the business out of this embedded system. So we classify this business as enterprise business and small or medium business. Enterprise business means it is a hospital, colleges, schools, industries, supermarkets. So these places, for example, let's take schools. Nowadays, I'm not sure if yeah, even in our place, we are nowadays having smart classes, right? So what do you mean by that smart classes? Simple. Everyone are having either a tab or a laptop. So the connectivity between this is actually I mean, this is a new thing in our academics, as far as you know, because while I was there, there was no concept of smart classes and all. I mean, after I finished the academics only, it started in our Tamil Nadu especially. So but in foreign countries, right, especially US and all, even the schools even the schools are having smart classes, fully smart classes. Colleges of fully smart classes. They have lots of this mm, mostly they go for MacBooks. Everyone will be having MacBooks. Every class will be having MacBook. So they can't there is no option for wired connectivity there. Wireless connectivity comes here. And then you have to there will be a IT department there. That IT department takes care of organizing every smart room connectivity. So that is a really huge task. Every classroom should be monitored. Every building should be monitored. The connectivity problem should not be there at all. I mean, if I connect to a particular network, right? Okay, here I'm talking about Wi-Fi. And mm, throughout this presentation, right, I'm going to refer WLAN engineering as an example, because embedded system is a huge domain. And there are subset of domains in embedded system, and one of it is WLAN engineering, which I'm currently associated. So I'm going to cite examples from this WLAN engineering. Now, coming back to this point, in the schools and colleges, so there are lots of MacBooks inside a class, and lots of classrooms and departments. So buildings will come. So there are so many devices. All these devices need to be controlled by the IT team. So they need, first of all, security. It must be very secure. It must not be getting hacked and all. And then it must be well managed, connectivity wise. So there is an immense scope of this WLAN engineering in the schools and colleges. Industries nowadays, industries everywhere, they are automating it. Connectivity is going wireless there. Supermarkets, even in supermarkets, you can see a lot of vending machines. And mainly these days you are seeing the swiping machines, right? And You might have heard about the term nowadays. The person in that the person who is doing doing the swipes, right? They'll ask us if our card has a Wi-Fi capability. If they just place it, you no need to enter the pin at all. So that swiping machine is the main thing in supermarkets that needs to be super robust. It should not run into any problem at all. And warehouses, uh, these days they are deploying lots of robots, small robots. And all those robots connectivity should be seamless. It should never get disconnected at all. Tech parks is similar to what you see in schools and colleges. Lots of laptops will be there. Everything must be connected. So this is a huge business. Enterprise business is very huge. But beyond this, the real big guy is the small and medium business. Here, come from the end, consumer electronics and personal wealth. There are what billions of people using the smartphones and TV nowadays. And then there are nowadays in homes we have the router facilities connecting our TV, Wi-Fi, everything, right? So this is also a very big business. But when you compare these two businesses, right, industry wise, the below four, what mentioning, don't go to the four things, just focus this first two: quantity and sensitivity. Quantity is it is huge in the small and medium businesses due to the customer electronics and all. But the sensitivity means when there is a need or when there is an issue, how fast you go and address that, and how fast you make a business that goes to enterprise business. Because I'm using a smartphone now. There is a small problem with the smartphone. I'm using Xiaomi phone now. So I won't go to Xiaomi and ask them to fix this phone. I'll first go and check in Google, what is this? And anyone is having another similar problem, I'll try to fix that by myself. Or at the worst case, I'll replace the phone. So Xiaomi doesn't know about my problem at all. Xiaomi cannot make a business out of me when I face a problem in my phone. I just go and change it. But if you think about a school or college, right, you have thousands of devices there. If there is a problem, they cannot go and change every device. They have to get back um, uh, to the people who are running the business to fix the problem. So sensitivity is very high in the enterprise. We have to fix that as much as fast as possible, and that will give us a huge business also. And learning comes from both. Earning comes from the enterprise business. So these are the things. So most of the companies nowadays are to be in business, they have to be in enterprise business. Small and medium business also strive, but if you see who are the toppers, it comes to the ones who are doing the enterprise business. So this is all about the customers who are using the embedded devices. Why I'm putting this slide is I want to show you the customer base of this enterprise embedded system domain. It is huge. It is really huge. And which part we are the entire industry is mainly focusing is the enterprise business. So I'll move to the next slide now. Okay. Requirements from the field. So we were talking about different businesses, right? So each field, how it communicates to the people who make the business. So I had classified it like this. So first thing is when we are provided a field, that is, say for example a school, we have to identify the basic need of the school. As a double engineering industry, we need to identify what does the school need. They'll be having thousands of computers, thousands of laptops, all needs to be integrated safely. That will be the primary basic. So that field analysis should be made. Then only we'll know what to do on top of that. And then win the competition. So first thing, you know what to do. And second thing is, it is not just you. There are many other people who know what to do in that particular given school. So you have to be sure to win the competition. There are lots of techniques, lots of strategies. We can talk about that, and then adapt to the new standards. So okay, now you got a school, you got a business. How to thrive that business? How to move it forward? Your customer should be their needs should be met. That is the primary criteria. After meeting that, you need to be successful in the business. You need to make the right money. So for that, we have to adapt to the standard. So I'll be talking about that as well. And then the product services. You deployed all your products, and how are you going to maintain those products? So in all these four aspects, right? at least, yeah, in all these four aspects, you need lots of things, you need lots of resources, you need lots of engineers behind these four things to run a successful embedded business. So this is all about the requirements from the field that we are facing on daily basis. So um, okay, I'll move on to the next one. Okay, here half of this slide I covered in the previous itself. So what is all about the requirement? What I mean, what am I going to achieve by knowing the requirement? It is the business. If we know what is the actual requirement of a given school, and um, uh, if I'm providing a solution using my products, that is my business. And if it is done rightly, the business is done. So this is all about the requirement. So actually, this is my core slide. From this slide onwards, everything starts. Um, okay. Now a given field, you know what to do there. Um, uh, from that field, you know what is the requirement. That requirement, how we are going to integrate it, how we are going to bring up a product. So we need to first identify the I mean, in the previous slide itself we would have identified the requirement. Now we need to identify what product will be uh, suitable for them. So for that we have developed the product, developing from the scratch and integrating the product. This is all the main thing here. And then you have to win the competition. So your product should be the best among the others. So performance is a key criteria here. So you have to boost the performance of your product. And next is your product must be living up to the standards. Standards keep changing every day. um, so in WLAN engineering, we follow the 802.11 IEEE standard. So it is a daily, it changes every day. It keeps on updating. So we have to make all the WLAN products up to that particular standard. So sticking to the standard is very important. And then the product, how we are going to do services to the product. Um, Services in the sense testing is very much needed for the product. This testing part, right? So the next session, I think you'll get more idea on what they are going to what they are actually doing on the testing. But this is very needed here. I'm just putting it as a point here because uh, unless you do a thorough testing, you will not know what is wrong with your product, how your product, what are the corner conditions of your product, race conditions, all these things. You can know only if you do a thorough testing on the product. So after a thorough testing comes huge number of bugs, and bug fixing is another thing that we have to do for the product. So these are all the main things to face the requirement. Moving on to the next slide. Okay, so I was talking about the product, developing the product. Developing means integration, right? So product integration and building from the scratch. So how it all happens is, first you identify a hardware. There will be a hardware unit, and for that hardware unit, you need to integrate a software. So here hardware comes from VLSI domains, right? That so they design all the hardwares. Uh, in embedded software perspective, I work from the software domain in embedded systems. So we will know about the operations of the hardware, the pin operation, how to map each pin and how to do different things. So all these things we have to know. And you might have studied about the microcontrollers, microprocessors and all, right? So the pin configuration, all right, so it comes from there. So as a software person, that pin level details is enough when it comes to hardware understanding. So once you do that, Next, you have to integrate it to a device driver and firmware, because these are the first level of interfacing that happens on a hardware. Device drivers and firmware, right? So all this runs on C code. C is the most effective code. So we need a very good handle on C programming here for the device driver and firmware handling everything. And then comes the OS part. Most of the embedded devices are running on Linux. So there comes Linux APIs. So all you need is to map the map or interface the device drivers to the Linux APIs, and then the OS is here. This is all small microcontrollers. If you consider a small device, embedded device, it is a microcontroller. It is mostly a system on chip design, because that only gives you portability. It will be small and compact. So you have to run an efficient OS on it. Efficient OS means RTOS. So okay, so most of the coding in the OS comes from C or C++. So a thorough knowledge on these languages is mandatory. So you might have noticed any embedded system company, right? Interviews and all, they will be focusing more on C and C++. So the reason is because of this. And then how to access this OS is using the UI, user interface. So when you do all these things, there comes a product. I'm going to map all these requirements to our academics now on what things our in academics wise we have to be proficient. Okay, so in the next slide, right? Yeah, device drivers and OS. We need a thorough knowledge on C and C++, and SOC concepts and all, right? That I was talking about the hardware. So computer architecture. That subject we have to be well aware of. Then OS concepts to understand Linux and other RTOS, and then UI development. UI development is an interesting one. There is a huge scope on this, and there are lots of programming languages and tools to do this. Python is recently very famous. Shell scripts are classical ones. HTML and BusyBox is a command line interface thing. XML is what to store data in a small level. That is for embedded devices to easily store and retrieve data. We use XML. So this understanding is needed. And then the last point, right? You might have come across a lot of electives. So I was actually on computer networks and wireless networking when I started there. Likewise, at least one elective we should be thorough. So that in every elective has a subset domain in the under the embedded system radar. So if you are thorough, if you are proficient in one of the electives, you can enter into that particular domain. So this is all the understanding that we need to build a product. And there is an end note I have mentioned, right? Now, I mean, this is when you enter into the industry, right, you'll know about it. There are lots of open source libraries. It's OpenWRT that I mentioned as an example, right? That is a open operating system embedded exclusively for embedded devices that are doing networking. You can use it for Wi-Fi routers or wired devices also. So there is but in academics, I don't think it will be easy for you to understand and apply this. When you come into the industry, this you have to read a lot about the open source softwares and all, because that will be easy, and business making perspective, this is very effective tool. So this is all the proficiency you need to build a product. Next is, yeah, I was talking about the performance, right? Performance is needed to win the competition. Given a product, right, you have to identify what is the um, uh, in what terms we can be better than our competitors. KPI, key performance indicators, that we have to identify for a product. Say for example, a Wi-Fi router that that most of us are using in our home, right? That is a chief component of this WLAN engineering. The main thing about it is it should be giving a super speed. So which Wi-Fi device is giving a good speed now? Is it Netgear, or is it TP-Link, or is it a Cisco AP? So it is all the speed here. So who's performing fast? So we have to make something in our product to boost the speed. There are a lot of tools, industry-wise standard tools are there, uh, and we have to effectively use those tools to measure these products. Tools, in the sense, tools can go wrong sometimes, tools can give false numbers sometimes. We have to be we have to be aware of all those limitations and use this tool properly. And then uh, innovation in the hardware and software, right? What that means is, how my product is going to be different from my competitors. So that part here. So the thing is, this is an R&D. This is an interesting R&D. You can keep on exploring this part, and it really has no limits at all. So as a person from academics, as a lateral entry or a fresher, what they need to be proficient to shine in this part is, I'm listing out here. It is the programming skills must be advanced here. Embedded C will be an example, because I was already talking you about these products. It will be all system on chip. System on chip, I know most of us will be knowing that particular term. If not, you can ask me about it in the later question sessions and all. So the main thing is, system on chip is, you will have a limited resource in it, limited memory resource. So within that limited memory resource, you should make use of everything. The counterpart of it is chip on system. For example, your normal desktop, where you do all the C programming, right? In that, there is no limitation for memory. You can keep on writing any big code. You can use any number of memory allocation. You don't need to worry about that at all. But here there is the memory. I mean, here on the system on chip, memory is very limited. So you have to be really efficient enough to use that memory. For example, these days smartphones, right? RAM capacity, we are talking about 1 GB RAM, 2 GB RAM, 4 GB RAM. So what is all about? Within 1 GB RAM, is the device is performing good or not? There will be a lot of limitations. You can't play good games and all. That's why you increase it to 4 GB. So if there is a technology that is what that is proficient enough to use that 1 GB resource itself to run any sort of games and anything, then that will be in the market. That will outshine the 4 GB thing, because cost effective, first thing. And then all the performance metrics, the benchmarks and all, right, that will increase for this 1 GB product. So uh, here is where you have to use the programming skills to make it effective. Everywhere there will be a limitation, but at least we should be going up to the saturation point here. And then we need out of box thinking. Out of box thinking comes from understanding the product, because as a person from academics, when you enter into the industry, out of box thinking is really a challenging one. But how to do it is, you have to first understand the product here. You have to understand the requirement here. I'll give you a good example here. Yesterday we had a very nice session about the data science, right? How you are you get a lot of data and how you are processing the data and how you are making a very good business out of it. So where you get all these data, someone should feed the data to you. Someone should create the data to you. One thing here is called hyperlocation services in WL Engine. That means your access points, right? So access point is not, they just provide the Wi-Fi. That's what we think here. They just provide a Wi-Fi. When I go to a Reliance store, Reliance like one Wi-Fi will be there. I connect it, happy. Uh, as a user, as a customer perspective, that's what we are seeing. But inside that box, it is doing plenty of things, and one such is this evolution. So this one, right, hyperlocation means it identifies the location of the person who is using that Wi-Fi. For example, I go into a Reliance store. um, um, uh, uh, I go to that Reliance store. I purchase some groceries, and then I go to the footwear section, footwear, to see some shoes. I spend some few minutes there looking at that location. Okay, and then I don't buy anything out from that location. I just move on. I just move on to the bill counter, pay for the groceries, and check out. But what data this hyperlocation feature is gathering, it senses me for that 5 minutes that I spent in that footwear location, and it tells to the server this person is interested in the footwear section. Now this data can be used by the analytics, Google Analytics, AdSense, and in my Facebook feed, in my all the Google feeds and all, right. I start to get advertisement from Reeboks and Adidas, and all from even this Reliance store itself. So that is a very big I mean, that is a very big advantage for the advertisement industry. Next, I no need to go to that shop at all. I just by clicking, I can select the product. So this is a super cool business that we made. So all these are out of box thinking. Inside the board, right? Inside the access point for this particular feature, they created a difference in the hardware, because so far I was talking more about the software, but here there was an innovation in the hardware itself, and thus came a very big business. This is a very cool development here. So scope here in this scope here in this one, right, the performance indicator, the competition that you win from your competitors is huge. It is endless almost. Okay, the next one is, yeah, the latest from the industry, right? I was talking about this. So you have certification is needed. Certification is because two things are there. One is certification, and another is the standards here. Certification, every time it needs, your product should be secure, especially in development engineering. There should be no room for hackers here. It must be foolproof. It must be fully secure. So certification goes rigorous day by day. So we need to make sure to update our product to all this certification. There are a lot of test cases in the certification. So we must achieve all the test cases almost. There is no compromise here. And then this 802.11 AX examples, right? Okay, I'll take you to another thing here. This is our famous GSM Arena website, right? Most of us are known to this. I'm comparing iPhone 5 and 6s here. Here, okay, here, right? This part, I'm not sure how many of you are noticing this one. This is the here in iPhone 5, it stops with A, B, G, and N. Whereas in iPhone 6s, AC is added. This is a new standard. So when you add this thing, when iPhone people add this one, speed increases. The main thing for AC is speed and bandwidth we call. So it increases. So if this happens in iPhone, the Wi-Fi provider boxes, right? The Netgear, okay, the Wi-Fi provider. So this one, this is the Wi-Fi router that we are using at home, and this one is 11 AC, and this one is 11N. For an iPhone 6s, 11N is also compatible, but you can't expect the full speed. So customer will go for this router which provides 11 AC support. So why I'm giving you these examples is you have to upgrade your box in that way. So this again has a huge scope. Every day we get activities on this because the real evolution happens here. So to be proficient on this, you have to be strong in C and C++. Normally these things, right, we can achieve it in the software itself. Hardware side, at least in double engineering perspective, there is nothing much. Most of the things we can achieve from the software itself. So but new things keep on adding. So sometimes your code and your operating system, right, it has the portability to do these new standards. Sometimes it does not have. If it does not have, you cannot say, okay, we can't go to that standard, okay, we can't achieve the certification. There is no room for that. You have to do that. In software, everything is possible. So we need to be very effective in the coding skills here. And then backward compatibility, right? Backward compatibility means, I was telling you, right, this iPhone 6s, and then I showed you one router that was running on 11N capability. It should still be able to join to that 11N old router. Not just only new routers should be supported, or even old routers should be supported. So all these things, all these techniques, we have to be very careful while doing the coding for this certification and standard things. So this is all about the standards. And okay, here comes a big part here. So here, product is ready, product is winning the competition, and product is living up to the standards. But we have to make sure to test our product on daily basis. Regression testing, uh, all regression testing means you have to stress test it for a long time, test the product with its maximum capacity, so that the purpose of all these testing is, you will identify all the corner cases, you will identify all the vulnerabilities in the products. Once you identify that, your job is to fix it and verify it. And sometimes a normal fixing won't happen. You have to change the designs and all, so it becomes somewhat bigger. And then comes here, this slide, right, that I'm talking about. This is again having a huge scope. So totally four things I'm covering here: part one, 1, 2, 3, and 4. All the four here has huge scope. So okay, I'll finish this also. The proficiency for the fourth part, right? So debugging skills is important here. Um, when we talk about debugging skills in software perspective, again, coding, we have to be very thorough from where the code starts and from till where the code ends. What are all the corner cases? What are all the exceptions? Everything we have to know about debugging skills. This is really an interesting part, because you have to know an overall and a full knowledge about your code, not just one part. Because when you are going to develop something, either you do it either you do it completely newly, or from a particular part you'll do a very big thing. But for this bug fixing, for the debugging and all, right, you need to know entire thing that is running inside the box. So I mean, we for this we coding skills will be very much needed. And you need to have a thirst behind the code. You have to run behind the code, see every flow of it and understand it. Then only it'll be possible to fix all these vulnerabilities. And there are different scripting tools are there, and we have to make use of these tools also to effectively do the bug fixing. So this one, okay, I made an end note, right, out of academics. That is because in academics there is no scope for us to know about the tools, scripting tools and all. All we can do is out of our own interest we can read from the Google, but what we expect is the the um, the thirst to run behind the code. You need to be very much focused when you have a small code, right? You need to be fully aware of what it is doing. That capability, if you develop, if we are going to give you 1,000-line code, you won't be it will not be a stress to you. You will understand, what to do with it. So that preparation is needed. That is definitely not out of scope. So all these four parts that I'm talking about, right, has huge scope, really huge scope. So as a person from industry, nowadays I'm a bit disappointed when people say the engineering, the people running behind engineering is coming down. There are very much the craze is not like it used to be before, because scope here is increasing day by day. There is huge scope here, but when people are not there, things are not moving out. So really there is a good scope. Really the subjects are very beautiful here. So just we have to be focused on what are the things that this industry is wanting from the academics perspective. If we click that properly, then everything is balanced here. We have a very good flow. We I mean the products, right, the products can increase to a great extent. And I'm almost at the end. I'll talk about two other things that we are doing in the embedded industry that has a huge role. WLAN engineering is one such. Yeah, as you can see, right, there are a lot of schools and colleges nowadays using this smart classes. So immense scope is there. If a proper out of box thinking is running there, you can make a huge business. You can make huge innovations there. And the evolution, I was talking to you about the IEEE standards, right? So that's how it goes on from 1999 till 2019, 10 years, 20 years span. See, it keeps on increasing. So what it means is it gives us it gives us lot of works. We have to when come to the 2009 to 2014 part, 11 to 11 AC, when it upgraded, there was a huge lot of work there. So we need people for this. We need quality people for this. And then coming to the future, right? So nowadays cloud and artificial intelligence are going to manage the WLAN networks. So again, there is a huge scope here. So in all my slides I'm talking about the scopes. So I also mentioned you about the area where we have to be proficient. So I think it must be useful here. And finally, this IoT and IIoT. Most of us should be coming across these terms, right? IoT is Internet of Things, and IIoT is Industrial Internet of Things. So internet, this comprises of lots of embedded devices. So there's a huge scope in this domain also. So I'm at the end of the discussion here. You can bring up your questions, if anything we can discuss at this time.
Participants, if you have any queries, you can post in the chat box. Otherwise, you can unmute yourself and ask the questions. So your presentation is very clear, I think. Therefore, no question from the audience, it seems. Participants,
Sorry, I it is
Not
Ma'am, is it
audible.
audible for you?
You are audible. Somebody is raising the question is not audible.
Okay. Yeah, it's completely not audible for me also. I think we are also not audible for them.
I don't know who is raising. Sir, it's not audible. Please kindly put your query in the chat box, please. It is not at all audible for anybody.
Ma'am, if you get the question, you can pass on to me because I'm
Yeah, that's
completely
what.
not.
Yeah, for me also, that's what I'm typing. Kindly post your queries in the chat box. Participants, if there are no queries, then we'll wind up the session. That's why we are waiting for your queries. Swatika, madam. Swatika, Swatika, madam, if there are no queries, then you can propose your vote of thanks.
Okay, ma'am, sure. Okay. First of all, I would like to thank the resource person, Engineer EMBUREY Samrex, Technical Lead, EmbedUR Systems, Chennai. And he has explained about the requirement in the embed system field. He has pointed out the platform and scripting tools very clearly. Moreover, he has pointed out what are the skills required for the freshers. He has explained the latest standards in IEEE field from the industry. Also, he has explained what are all the roles of WLAN in engineering. Really, his talk was highly very informative and useful. You made it very clear, sir. So on behalf of our institution and Department of Computer Science and Engineering, we wholeheartedly thank the resource person for his valuable speech. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Thanks for having such a nice window to interact with the academics persons. It is really a good opportunity for us to explain the need that we had in industry perspective. So thank you one and all who joined here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, one and all. Thank you, participants.
Thank you, EMBUREY.
Yeah, thank you.